Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Smudge. I come from Norway and I love makeup. And today I am going to show you guys the new Pastels palette by BeautyBay. It was really cheap and it released like not too long ago. And it looks like this on the inside. It's really beautiful for those of us who love pastels, and I totally do. I have some pastel looks already up on my channel. I can just leave those down below in my description box. If I forget, just comment. But I just thought I would try to be a little bit helpful if you are considering to buy this palette, and therefore I just decided to do some eye swatches for you guys, where I put each and every single shade of this palette on my eye alone on top of an eyeshadow base. So that's basically what I'll be doing. I'll be using a concealer like this, I'll talk more about that afterwards, on my lid, and then I'll be using the same brush for all of the shadows just to see how they perform, basically, to see the pigmentation, to see how they blend out and how they look on my eyelids. And yeah, let's just go straight into it. As an eyeshadow base for these shades, I'm just going to use my Conceal and Correct in C0, which is the white one, because these are pastels, so normally I would use a white base with them. So I did not apply a lot, as you can see. I only applied like a tiny bit, and I'm just going to distribute that all over my lid. I think I'll just go ahead and use the blue and the green right here first, so this one on my right eye and this one on my left eye. So I'm just trying to pick it up to see how the formula is. As you can see, it's picking up super easily, so hopefully it's also really pigmented, and making sure that I don't have any creasing happening, because this is a concealer. And I'm just going to start, wow, that is pigmented. I'm just going to start packing it on, and then I'll try to blend it out in the crease like I normally would if I was just going to make a one eyeshadow look. So it's very powdery, but also, as you can see, it's super pigmented. It looks like it's blending out really nicely. That was Cloud Free, and now I'm going into Days, which is this more greenish minty shade. Seems to be the same kind of formula. It's very powdery. So I'll just start packing that on here. Wow, it's also looking super pigmented. I would advise you to be a little bit more careful when picking it up on the brush, just because it's leaving a lot of kick up in the pan. I don't even know if you can see it. So you just basically need to barely tap into the eyeshadow and it will pick up super easily. So far I'm really impressed by the performance of these two shadows that I've tried on my eyes. The colors are beautiful. So here we have them. We have Cloud Free, the blue one, on my right eye, and we have Days on my left eye. And so far, as I said, I'm super impressed. I feel like they look gorgeous and super pigmented, and they blend it out so easily. So yeah, really loving these ones so far. Personally, I'm more interested in seeing how these two are compared to each other than the two pinks. So I'll just go ahead and use this one on my right and this one on my left eye. So starting out with this one. Also quite powdery, but not as bad as the blue and the green. This is, by the way, Euphoria. And as you can see, I just cleaned off everything I had on my lids, and I reapplied my white concealer. And yeah, I'm just applying this eyeshadow. It does seem a little bit less powdery and maybe a little bit less pigmented. I'm not really sure. It just feels a little bit thinner, but I think it applies nicely. I mean, it looks quite good. I think it's just the fact that it's so light that makes it seem like it might not be as pigmented, but really I think it is. Blends out beautifully too. Now I'll just go ahead and use Daydream here in the bottom. I did clean my brush with my color switch. Again, not as powdery as the blue and the green, but still, like, it has a tiny bit of kick up. And I'm just going to apply that as well. Okay, so here I can immediately tell, like, it's a lot harder pressed, so I'm like digging in there. If I did that with the green or the blue, I would have had so much powder everywhere. So this is not as pigmented. I'm really building it up and rubbing into the pan. But I mean, I feel like it builds up nicely. It's not as deep as in the pan, but the color is beautiful. And like the blend is quite seamless even without me really doing anything. So there we have Euphoria and Daydream, and I think they both look really nice. They are a little bit thinner in consistency, I guess I could say, or like the formula seems a bit thinner and less pigmented, but they do build up nicely. They blend nicely. I feel like when you see the shadow next to my eye, it looks a little bit lighter than in the pan, but it might just be me, but it looks really nice regardless. And here as well, you can see that the pink is a little bit lighter on my eye. I don't know if you can see that, but I mean, I still think it looks beautiful. And they applied nicely, so I'm happy with those as well, honestly. I kind of feel like doing the yellow and the green together, so I'm going to start with the yellow on my right eye, and then I will do the green on my left eye. And this one, again, it's a little bit powdery, but not as much, I think, as the first two shades that I used. I mean, I think it's pigmented, but it's at the same time a little bit sheer. I don't know if that has anything to do with the concealer base that I'm using. I think you should be able to see it when I'm so up close like I am now, that you can like see it looks not really patchy. It just looks like the texture is different on different areas of my lid. As you might be able to see, it has a little bit of kick up, but not a whole lot. And then I'm going into Serenity right here. Not as powdery as the other greens. I can actually go back in a little bit without it being crazy powdery. Okay, so that is the yellow, First Light, and the green one, Serenity. And I will say that Serenity, I think, performed really nicely. I don't think it has as much of the patchiness. It's a little bit, but I'm quite sure it's because of the concealer, so I don't really think I need to use a different base. I think that these will perform really nicely on an actual eye primer instead of like concealer. So I think that's really important to have in mind when I do these swatches on a concealer base instead of an eyeshadow base. Because if you like look in the crease, because I would usually just use the mattes mostly in the crease and then use something on my lid up to here, I think. So you wouldn't really see this texture that I'm talking about on the lid. So I'm still happy with these actually. So we're on to the last two shades. So I'm going to use the pink one here on my right eye and the orange over here on my left eye. So again, picking it up. This one is a little bit powdery again. That is the shade Lovesick. It seems very pigmented on first application right here. So that's a little bit different from the other like light lilac-y pink one, because that one I felt like was quite thin and needed to be built up. But this one is very pigmented, it seems. Now going into Golden Hour, looks really pretty in the pan at least. The same powdery consistency as the others. I wouldn't expect anything else from Pastels. Okay, so here you see Lovesick and Golden Hour, and I feel like Golden Hour is again like the pinky purpley ones and the yellow and the green ones. I don't know if I just didn't pay enough attention with the first two, but I feel like this one and the first two greens right here, they were much more pigmented upon first application. So it's like these three are super pigmented. The other ones are a little bit more sheer when it comes to pigmentation, but definitely buildable, and they look really nice. But yeah, I feel like you can definitely see a difference on the pink, on like the opacity of the pink and the orange one, because as you can see, like from the palette, it looks a little bit more peachy and mixed with white. I mean, that's basically what it is on my eye with the white concealer, but I feel like the pink one looks way more true to color on my eye than the some of the others. But like, I still like all of the colors. I don't think it's a bad palette at all, but obviously with pastels they're mixed with white just to make them light, of course, and then you might have some sheerness to them because the pigments are not, like there's not that much pigment in them. But yeah, that was Lovesick and Golden Hour. And yeah, let me just do my makeup. I'm going to do my makeup and trying out some pastel liners that I have from a different brand. So I'll just leave a link to that down in my description box. I'm probably uploading that after this video, so you have to check back to see that, but it's coming probably the next video that I'm uploading. So I'm back from doing my look, and this is how it ended up. And I used this shade, Cloud Free, and I used Daydream, and then I used some of the pastel liners that I was talking about, and I also used Days and Serenity for my lower lash line. So my feelings about these is that I just feel like they're very sheer. I don't know, because you can't see them that well on my eye look. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad, but I did want to, like, I haven't compared them to any other of my indie pastel shadows yet, so I thought I would just do that together with you. So just for example, we have here, this is Lunar or Later by Tara Moon's Cosmetics, and I think it's relatively comparable to the blue. So I thought I would just swatch both of them. So I'm just swatching the BeautyBay one. It does look quite powdery, as I've been saying all the time. I have a small staining here, but I will just do it right here anyway. So I mean, it doesn't swatch the worst, it doesn't. But I'm also going to swatch Tara Moon's, and this is like one swipe. One swipe. The other one I went into quite a lot, and I'm just going to show you here. I don't know, I just feel like these look way more opaque when you use them on the eye. So here you have the BeautyBay one, and then you have Tara Moon. So I feel like this one is definitely more opaque, as you can see. I don't know if that's good or bad for deep complexions, but at least that's how it's looking on my hand right now. And I did also want to compare a couple others. So for example, here you have this one compared to Sublimate by Clionadh. And Clionadh shadows are amazing, they're just super opaque. I'm just going to swatch Serenity here first, so I can show you how much I'm digging into the shadow. And then this is how it's looking. And then I'm just going to do the same with Sublimate. So I'm taking 1, 2, and then I'll just swatch them. Let's see, this is the BeautyBay one, so I'll take that right underneath the other BeautyBay one. A little bit back and forth. And here we have Sublimate. So I don't know, like, I just feel like when I tilt my hand like this, you can still see the indie shadows a lot more, whereas these just, like, this one doesn't look too bad, but this one, for example, does not look good at all. I mean, I just found this one as well from Tara Moon's. It's called Aquarius, and it doesn't really look like the others, but I can just swatch it next to the other two blue shadows. Okay, so this is super powdery, it just literally went everywhere. But okay, so let's just see Aquarius. It's a little bit darker maybe, but it's like so pigmented. I can like swipe all over my hand with what I picked up from like 2 swipes in the pan. It does look quite similar as well. And then I also want to compare the purples. Like, this one looks really dark. You can see the BeautyBay one looks really dark. And then we have Libra from Tara Moon's. So I will go ahead and swatch those. So Libra here, no, BeautyBay here. I really have to dig in to get anything. And then we have Libra from Tara Moon's. And I'll just swatch BeautyBay right here next to the other blue. And then I'll swatch Libra here. So I just, like, as you can see, it just looks a lot more sheer than the indie shadow. So, and also if you look at Daydream from Clionadh right here next to BeautyBay, I already swatched the BeautyBay one, so I'll just swatch this one. That was 2 rounds in the pan. And this is the BeautyBay one that you can barely see. And then you have Clionadh Daydream. Obviously that doesn't look like a pastel anymore, but I mean, when you look at the pans next to each other, they do look very similar, so. And just to talk about one more brand, this is Emme Cosmetics. That's their purple, that's called Elysian. I'm just going to swatch that as well. That is 2 swipes. And I'll just swatch that next to the one from Cliona. And then you have the BeautyBay one here. So here's Emme Cosmetics, Cliona, and BeautyBay. So you can just see the pigmentation difference here. It's crazy. I know I said just one more brand, but like, look at this beautiful pastel from Divina. This one is Nora. And I can just compare that to the pink one here. So Divina shadows are very loose, but just going to pick a little bit up right there. Then going into the pink right here. And I'll just go ahead and swatch Nora right here. And then BeautyBay here. But this BeautyBay pink was actually quite good. So Nora from Divina is here, and this is the BeautyBay one. So I feel like the pink was actually quite good. Those are actually dupes. They look like the same shade. And also, like, for the green, this is Surge from Divina. It looks really similar to the one from BeautyBay. I'm taking BeautyBay here on my middle finger, and then I'll just take Surge on my ring finger. Very powdery, as I've said. And I'm kind of running out of space here, but let's just swatch here. So this one is Divina. Surge from Divina. And then we have Serenity by BeautyBay. So here you can definitely see what I'm talking about with the sheerness of the shadows from BeautyBay. It literally just blends out to nothing. I do also have a few more for the others, like for the orange and for the yellow. Now I think I'm basically duping this palette, but this is Gourd from Cliona, and I'm just going to compare that. So we have Gourd from Cliona and the BeautyBay orange. And then I want to also compare the yellow from the BeautyBay palette, so I'm just swatching that here on my pinky finger, and I'm just going to take that one here. So here we have the BeautyBay. Then I have Capri from Divina right here. And I have Mace from Cliona right here. So we have the BeautyBay one, and then we have Divina Capri, and then we have Cliona Mace. So you can like see the difference of the pigments right here, and like the sheerness of the BeautyBay one. You can like see that with all of the swatches basically. So yeah, that was like a whole duping the Pastels palette suddenly, but I'm so sorry this ended up being so much longer. I just wanted to show you that like there are more pigmented pastels out there. But like if you want something really cheap, this one is super cheap. It's like $10 or something. So it's very cheap, and I mean you do get you get some color. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm disappointed with the palette. I would just say that I feel like you have a lot more filler in these shadows, which makes them more sheer and more buildable, and like you can't really build them up to the color that you see in the pans. So I feel like in the future I would probably just reach for the pastels that I have from the different indie brands that I showed you, from Cliona, from Emme, Divina, and yeah, Terra Moons. I think I would definitely reach for those instead of this one, but it was fun to try out, and maybe I will use it more in the future. Please leave me a comment down below if you picked it up and you have tried it yet, or if you want to try it. But nevertheless, I'm happy with the look that I got out of it, and I hope that you liked this video, that it was helpful for you. Please give it a thumbs up if you did like it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!